Welcome, Wendi. Thank you for joining me for this YouTube series on self-publishing. I have your official bio below, but would you mind telling us a bit about yourself in your own words?
Yes, hello. My name's Wendi Lou Lee. Just Wendi though. And I played the role of Baby Grace on Little House on the Prairie. That is my audience, I guess you would call it. And I have a family, a husband, two teenagers, and we live on the Central Coast of California. My mission in life is to reach out to Little House fans and share about the love of God and his goodness and his grace. So that's me.
Amazing. I love it. So, would you mind sharing with our viewers the titles of your books and any publishing release dates you have?
Okay, yes. Well, I have a new book coming out. Actually, maybe I'll talk about the first book first. I published a book, Prairie Devotional, a Prairie Devotional in 2019. That was with HarperCollins, and I am just now getting ready to release my memoir called Red Tail Feathers, Dare to Discover the Beauty of Grace. And this releases August 13th of 2023. So yeah, super exciting.
Yay, that's great. You're still like fresh in it, which is amazing.
Oh,
So,
I'm like in the trenches right now trying to figure out what to do because it's very different traditionally publishing and self-publishing, and there are good things about both and there are hard things about both. So,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So, yeah, you mentioned so that first book was traditionally published. What led you to decide to self-publish your memoir?
Um I will be completely honest. My first book, um it sold out of its first printing and there was a discussion whether they would reprint it. And so that kind of puts an author into panic, especially when you go to events like I do. I'm going to 10 to 12 events a year, hanging out with Little House fans, and they want the book. So what do you do when your story that you have poured your heart and soul into cannot be printed anymore? And because if you are a traditionally published author, most of the time you do not have the rights to your book. So if they don't want to publish it, they don't have to. You can try to acquire the rights, pay for the rights, buy your book back, and that is very scary. So when this second book came out, it was like, I'm not going to do that again. I want to own the rights of my own work. And now, thankfully, they did approve a print on demand copy. So my first book is available, which is lovely, but I wasn't really willing to go through that again.
Yep,
So
that's
there we
fair.
go.
Awesome. So what parts of this self-publishing journey, which I know you're not really through yet, but what parts so far have you enjoyed the most?
Oh my goodness. I deciding everything is like, okay, it's amazing. It's pretty overwhelming too, because you don't really realize the plethora of decisions that you have to make, but then to know that you actually get to say every single thing that you want and say, actually, I kind of would like it like this, or I thought I wanted like this. Sorry, can we change that back? Like that is amazing to know that it is really the book that you wanted. And also working with the designers was incredible because they really just wanted to make me happy. And so, you know, as an author, a traditionally published author, doesn't really matter what you think. And so, I mean, they might ask you, they might not ask you. So, I think just the freedom to know that this book is really like my book. That is the most incredible thing. And just the camaraderie, I think there was really this shared desire to bring about something that was going to be incredible. And I honestly like this book does not look like a self-published book. Like, and I'm not saying that some self-published look like terrible, but some of them you're like, I don't know, I think that's self-published. And this, I just don't feel that way at all. So I don't feel like there's a quality issue. Um, So I don't know what else to say. I could keep going, but it's been
Awesome.
amazing.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. So I always just assume, having gone through the self-publishing process myself, that there are some bumps and some challenges along the way. I'm curious what those were for you and how you overcame those challenges.
Uh, I can't really say that there were bumps, although we're not done yet. But I don't think there were bumps, except for there was a few like loading issues. And
Mm.
that's just technology. That is like, you know, Ingram Spark or Amazon like not responding or something's not working, but that's just life. You know what I mean? Like sometimes things take longer than you think they're going to take, and you just have to like twiddle your thumbs and go, okay, it's going to happen, just be patient. So but other than, there just weren't really any bumps. I hate to say that, like maybe it was just easy. I think also I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew that my cover, I wanted a picture of Baby Grace on the front. Now the designers did like kind of blow my socks off and say, you know what, let's use this picture instead. And I was like, oh, that's so much better. So, like I knew exactly what I wanted. Now they went over and above what I wanted. Like I was like, I can't believe you just thought of that. That's so amazing. There's like this hidden feather behind the title. Like I just didn't um so it may be that I just really knew I had some things that I kind of already knew what I wanted. And maybe if, you think you want something and it's not what you decided, maybe that's where there could be some bumps, but honestly, no bumps for me.
Amazing. Well,
Mhm.
that's really hopeful for people that you can get through the process and it can feel easy on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So would you mind just sharing, maybe sort of breaking it down, what parts of this whole process did you do yourself versus what did you hire out?
Sure. Okay. I hired out an editor, of course. Please do not edit your own book. And I did a developmental edit, and then my developmental editor said, you can skip the line edit, we're good, but you need a copy edit. And so that's what I did. I hired out my developmental edit, hired out my copy edit, and then I hired you guys. And that was for the cover and the interior pages. And by the way, I did not brag up the interior pages team. They're amazing. Cover team, Cassidy is amazing. Interior pages, who's that? Jana?
Jana, yeah.
Jana, amazing. So and I'm doing my own audiobook, so I'm not hiring out for that. What else is there?
Yeah, I think that covers it. Yeah. So
So
for you,
yeah.
you did the writing, you hired for editing, hired for all the design and upload and all of that. And now you're doing the audiobook yourself. Do you have anyone involved in like your marketing or launch process? Do you have like a launch team? Do you have beta readers? Do you have anybody like that involved?
Right. Well, I did the marketing package also with you with
Right.
Sarah. And so she's helping me out with that. And like I could have maybe done that myself, but here's the thing. When there's a 4 million things to do, like my brain can't really come up with an editorial calendar. There's too many things. And so that's been super helpful. She, drafted emails to newsletter and launch team and dates. And so that's been great. So yes, I also hired out for that. I kind of threw that in with the mix of hiring you guys. But so yes, I do have a launch team, and we're like just starting. Like I just sent the ebook out to everyone and people are reading. So I'm in the middle of that. And obviously I am coordinating with a few different marketing um like platforms, littlehouseontheprairie.com. So I'm paying them to post, this to this and this to this and blah, blah, blah. So, but other than that, no, I'm letting it all kind of do itself. I'm not gonna be, I'm not hiring a publicist. I don't feel like I need to. And it's so much money. I'm just like, I don't know. So this is, a project that I'm I'm self-funding, so I'm being careful with what I'm paying out, but then again, I'm not trying to go cheap either. So it's self-publishing can be more expensive, it can be less expensive. I'm kind of like right in the middle of the road, I think, although some people, it depends on your budget. You might think that I went overboard. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really helpful. I think in the sort of marketing and launch piece, we haven't talked about in a lot of these stories. So that's why I thought to bring it up, just because I know that you have maybe more of a robust marketing strategy than some of our other clients, because everybody's different, right? Some people are like, I'm going to get the book already. We're going to upload it and we're just going to put it out there immediately, right? Whereas you have a bit of runway with being able to, take those pre-orders and have that strategy. And so, yeah, it's always just interesting to hear from different people, because other people watching this might wonder as well, like what that part of the process can look like. And so, yeah, just wanted to touch on that. So thank you for sharing.
Yes, I wanted to say also that I did hire you to do all the uploading,
Mm.
and I could have done that, but I am so glad that I did, because I was like, what if something goes wrong? And that was that whole weirdness that happened, that kind of Ingram Spark wouldn't get back to us and da da da. And so sometimes it's worth it to hire somebody, like to go, you know what happens if it doesn't work? And if now after the fact, if I would have just said, okay, I'm just going to do that myself, like I don't want anything to go wrong after this whole thing and then go, oh, what am I doing? So
Yeah.
I think every little piece, if you hire things out, you just know that someone is on your team with you and helping you in case there is a problem. And so you just kind of weigh your options and
Yeah.
how much does it cost? How much is it worth my sanity,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. And you unfortunately seem to have just been that anomaly where things went wrong that have never gone wrong before. So, yeah, it even for me, it's like it's nice to know that, I know exactly what to do. And if something goes wrong, I either know how to fix it or I know this is weird. Like we
sure.
need to get this figured out, right? Instead of that sort of like panic of like, what did I do? Right? If you're not used to the platforms, it can be a little bit overwhelming when, those things aren't working.
I can't imagine if I was loading it myself. I'd be like, I don't know what to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Awesome. Um, so what would you change about your self-publishing journey?
Um, Nothing. I don't know. I can't think of anything yet.
Yeah.
Um, I'm completely happy at the moment, although my book hasn't come out yet. So
So
yeah,
to be
no.
determined for sure, but
I don't think so. It's been
yeah.
so smooth. It's been great. I can't say I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you do it again?
Oh, yes. Well, I have to write another book though. So I'm not sure,
Yeah.
because this was, 7 years in the making. So I don't
Yeah.
know. In 7 years, maybe to ask me again. I don't know.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that's true. Thinking about having to write another book tends to be the like most overwhelming piece of thinking about publishing again. It's not so much the actual self-publishing piece, but do I have the words? Do I have the brain capacity, to actually pull this off again?
Yes. I will say that when I was thinking about self-publishing, I talked to a few friends who had self-published, and they just were like, okay, it's just a lot of work and there's a lot of steps and you have to find all these different people and da 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 da. And then a friend of mine, who has worked with you, Taryn, on front cover and whatever, she just said, oh, you should contact Taryn. And so I didn't know that it was like this whole package. I just thought it was like the cover. And so I thought I was going to have to hire individual people for every single thing. And it's felt overwhelming. Like it really felt overwhelming. And when I saw that the whole package, I was like, oh, thank goodness, because now I don't have to figure it all out. Like if I'm going to trust somebody with a cover and they do everything else, like I just go, okay, done, check. So I think it depends when you're self-publishing. If which route you go, because if you are going to have just a designer and just an interior pages and somebody that's going to help you load it, or I don't know if you need somebody different for ebook, or I don't even know how that all works. Like you're just like a one-stop shop. So, and that means in a good way, not in a bad way. But yeah, it made it so easy. It took all that like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this off my plate? So,
Oh, that's great to hear. That's
mhm.
what we strive for.
Mhm.
So, I know you're still waiting for your book to come out. So there are some things that you just don't know yet, but just so far, what do you feel are some of the benefits you've experienced by self-publishing?
Well, number one, it looks the way I want it to look. Number two, um, it's mine. Number three, do you know how much more money I hate to talk about money because I don't really do that, but do you know how much it costs to really print this? Like $3. And then I pay for shipping. Like I'm going to make, I'm so not about money, but this is a business too. Sometimes like I don't have a job because I am too busy doing all of this to have a job. And so my husband likes it when I actually make something every month. And this is so much more lucrative, to say it nicely. Um, if you need to actually make some money writing a book, you can. Traditionally publishing, you might make $1.27 a book or something, but you've got to earn out your advance first.
Yeah.
So, and it depending what your advance is, you may never even earn out. So I think those might be the benefits. I haven't even released it yet. So,
Yeah.
those are the benefits off the top. Yeah, I'm excited to see how this goes. And I do have like two completely different perspectives. Um, I will say the other thing about self-publishing, which I totally forgot, is I got to pick my editor
Mhm.
myself. And this is just went all the way back. So sorry.
Yep. It's okay.
But I think it's a really big thing because when you are traditionally published, an editor gets assigned to you.
Mhm.
Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't like my editor, but my editor changed 3 times
Mhm.
in the process. And some editors knew about Little House on the Prairie, some had no clue. And I'm like, why are you editing this book? It doesn't really make sense. So when you get to actually pick your editor, yes,
Mhm.
you are paying for that editor, but that editor is with you from the beginning to the end. And they're not going to just all of a sudden leave you and then someone else is going to replace them. And that is hard because it's a very intimate relationship that you have with this editor. Because especially if you are writing a book that is about you or your life or something that's very near and dear to you and scary to put on paper, that editor is like you're holding your hand and saying, I want the best for this. And, some things maybe we aren't going to include for good reason. And some things I want you to go a little deeper. And so I did not have that um, relationship traditionally published in my traditionally publishing journey. I did not have that relationship with an editor. So now pick wisely because that is a really, really big step. And it's at the very beginning. And some people go, oh, my book's ready. It's never ready unless you have a professional editor, my opinion, a professional editor looking at your book if you want the best product possible. So yes.
Amen.
Yes. And you guys don't want to see it when it's not ready either, I'm sure.
Yeah, there is definitely a difference for sure in those books that have been professionally edited and those that aren't. And it's totally up to the author and what they feel comfortable releasing and their budget, and what makes them happy is great. But there is a quality difference between the two, and so really it comes down to what your goals are. And for some people, their goal is just to get this book out there. And for other people, they kind of want to be a little bit more meticulous with
Sure.
what is actually within those pages.
Right. And
Yeah.
I will say my editor wasn't exorbitant. I actually was impressed that it wasn't more than it was, So I think maybe keep an open mind and, you know, check out a couple. And I also did, it's not like you just decide and then you're stuck with them. Like I submitted a chapter or two and he gave back like, let's just see if this is going to work. And he kind of said, this is how it would go. Do you want to continue? And I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Yes, but I could have said no. And so you can kind of try people on and see if you're going to jive and if their voice kind of goes with your voice, because you don't want your editor to change the voice of your book because it needs to be you, right? So I think there's a lot of play there. You can really figure it out. And I know there are lots of editors that charge different rates. So you can, but I would encourage any self-published author, any author, to have somebody give you some feedback. I think it's a great rule of thumb. So
Yeah, absolutely. So just before we wrap up here, for those watching who are maybe considering self-publishing, what would you say to them?
I would say that give it a shot. Don't write off self-publishing because it seems like a lesser form of publishing. I think the publishing world is changing and it is harder and harder and harder to be traditionally published. I think people have this like air about them sometimes, maybe that you're a more legitimate author if you're traditionally published. And there are so many roadblocks to traditional publishing. And I don't feel like the world would be not as good of a place if only traditionally published authors that have platforms of hundreds of thousands, because that's where we're getting to. Very much it's a platform game. And I don't even have a big enough platform. And I was on Little House on the Prairie, for goodness sakes, for a traditionally published author to pick up my book. So, and what a shame, because there are people with stories in this world that are amazing that people need to hear. And so I would just say, don't write it off because you think that it's this lesser form of publishing. It's not. And it can be amazing. And yes, you have to do some work, and yes, you have to pay for some things. But if you're willing to do that, I think it can be a really great road for people, especially if you are stuck in a spot where you cannot find an agent that will give you the time of day. You cannot find a publisher that will that sees the value in your project. And just because a big publisher doesn't see the value in your project, it does not mean that it's not valuable. So believe in the work that you've done. And, if you hit a roadblock, give it a fair chance. Go do it yourself. You can put out a great book and people will be changed by the words that you put on the page. So that's what I would say.
Amazing message. Thank you so much for joining me, Wendi.
Yes, it's been great. And thank you. So fun. So excited about it. It's going to be great.
All right. For those of you watching, thanks for joining us. And I know that you are going to glean something from this interview with Wendi. So leave a comment below, either just with encouragement or what you're taking away. Please read her bio, check out the links to her work as well. We love it when writers and authors support each other. Community is such an important piece of this writing world. So hit subscribe, keep following us on this self-publishing series, and take care, everyone.